Hello, I'm Paul Harris, America's editor at Mining Journal, and welcome to this Mining Journal exclusive interview with mining entrepreneur Clive Johnson, president and CEO of B2Gold, one of the most exciting gold mine builders in recent years. Good afternoon, Clive.
Hey, Paul, nice to be with you.
2020 was a year of many highlights for B2Gold, a year in which you saw another record year of production of more than 1 million ounces of gold, which, if I understand correctly, was your 12th consecutive year of production growth. And the company also became debt-free. It launched the Rhino Gold Bar initiative, and you're paying dividends. You accomplished a lot last year, but what for you particularly pleased you about the 2020 performance of the company?
Yeah, obviously, as you recapped, I mean, we did have another great year, 12th in a row, as you said, of record gold production. But I think the thing when I look at it is I'm most proud of, and I think we all are, is the way we were able to continue to do what we do and meet our projections, but do it safely during COVID. You know, we pride ourselves in our corporate culture of what we call treating employees and everyone with fairness, respect, and transparency. And I think that it was a great sign of by doing that for years with our 40 world. I think COVID really showed that we really earned their trust of our employees and the governments in the countries we work in, local governments and federal governments as well, because we all had one thing in common in these developing nations. They don't have a big safety net. So when COVID hit, these mining jobs were very important for them to keep if we could do it safely. So we all wanted to keep mining if we could do it safely. So we were able to do that. We have one of the top safety records in the world in mining anyway. It's a top priority for us. So we added various COVID strategies to help with COVID, and we contribute, etc. So I think that's the thing that sticks out for me, actually. Yes, the financial results were excellent, but it's the humanitarian side in a way. It's what we were able to do during COVID with all the communities in which we work and all the great people that work for B2Gold. So yes, we had, you know, our guidance was for around 1 million ounces of gold. We were just over that, and we generated over $950 million US last year in cash from operations. We'd introduced the dividend, which we've increased a couple of times. So it's now a little over 3% yield, one of the highest in the gold space. And we're, as you mentioned, we're debt free. And so we're very excited about 2021. And the production might be a little bit lower, but not materially. In fact, I think it might be at that 1 million ounce level again. But then we have an exciting bunch of additional things in the pipeline that I'm sure you're going to ask me about.
Yes, 12 consecutive years of production growth is very impressive, but obviously that becomes more and more difficult to sustain. So is the sort of 1 million ounce a year level sort of what you would hope would be the sort of annual run rate going forward? Or conversely, are you looking to try and grow even further?
Well, last year we put out 5-year guidance from our 3 principal mines, being Masbate in the Philippines, Otjikoto in Namibia, and of course Fekola in Mali. And just from those 3 mines, our guidance is to be very close to that 1 million ounce a year level. Last year we put out 5-year guidance for that level, and you know, very low cost. And we're going to come in at last year, we're somewhere around $800 an ounce. We expect our financials to come out shortly for our own sustaining cost. So we'll probably be around 850 or a little higher over the next 4 years, but still one of the lower cost producers in the world. But there's clearly a great potential to continue our growth as we move forward. We have the Gramalote project in Colombia, which is a joint venture with AngloGold Ashanti, and we're closing in on a final feasibility study there. We should have the results out in April of this year. We're expecting that to be positive. We're doing all the final numbers now, but we think that's a mine that we'll want to go ahead with, and an AGR partner will as well. So that could add another 400,000 ounces a year, half of that to us and half of that to AGA. We could start construction as early as later this year on that mine. We are the operator, so it'll be our tremendous construction team that's built 8 mines for Bema and B2Gold along the way. And one of the great keys to our success is this remarkable construction team we have that delivers every time on the promises we make. So there's Gramalote, but in addition to that, there's a tremendous amount of potential around Fekola. You know, we acquired Fekola, I guess it's 5 years ago now. And there were some critics, because at that point in the industry, the investors were very anti-growth. Unfortunately, because a lot of companies have done a very poor job, frankly, of growing and building mines. So we did something quite contrarian, which was to build the Otjikoto mine in Namibia, and then, of course, the Fekola mine. So Fekola has been an amazing project, as you've probably seen. We started off with 3 million ounces in reserves when we acquired it, and now we're talking about 7-8 million ounces in resources, continuing to grow. So there's a lot of potential right around Fekola, very nearby in a zone called Cardinal, which is just 500, where we're going to start bringing this year. And then 20 kilometers to the north is the Anaconda area, where we released the saprolite shallow resource there of over 800,000 ounces, which continues to grow. But the real potential there is there another Fekola type structure below this weathered saprolite material that only goes down to 50 meters. So we think we have the potential for another multi-million ounce discovery north of Fekola in the Anaconda region. So lots in the pipeline. We're going to have a real push on exploration again this year. We have one of the larger exploration budgets in the world for gold exploration, but that's where we were born. We were born of exploration. We become very good builders and producers, but the cheapest ounces are always the ones you find. So we got a tremendous good budget of brownfields exploration, continuing to find more gold around our mines, but also greenfields. Interesting places like Uzbekistan and Finland, places where we're going to look for world-class discoveries. So I think our return, we should calculate it one day, but our return on dollars invested in exploration has been a great way to continue to grow the company, to increase the mine life at our mines, but also new opportunities. And the final one is Kiaka in Burkina Faso, which the economics of that are starting to look very interesting. That has the potential to be another large open pit gold mine. It has around 4 million ounces. We're doing an updated feasibility study there by the middle of the year. And the biggest things that have changed there are not just the gold price to make it more attractive, but also the potential for much lower fuel costs and much lower power costs. We've become experts in solar power for mining. We do it in Namibia, and we just started a few weeks ago producing power from solar and a solar HFO plant at Fekola as well. So there's lots in the pipeline, and we're really excited about this year as we realize value of our assets like Gramalote and perhaps Kiaka and all this exploration work that we're doing.
Okay, the company's got a history of building mines. The most recent one was the Fekola expansion, and with the feasibility in Gramalote coming out in April, is that the next one in your sequence that you hope to be able to build? And it sounds like the feasibility is working out well, and so it seems like that will get a green light construction decision from B2Gold. How will that process work with your partner? Will you be waiting for them to make a decision? To what extent will they make a quick decision or not, do you think?
Yeah, no, AGA has been great. They were operated before, and they did a lot of great work, both on the technical side, but also on the community relations, we have a mining permit, so we're ready to go in that regard. So they've been very good, and they've been very supportive since we became operator. They had a lot of other things on their plate, so they wanted us to become operator with our team to build the mine. So I think we're on the same page. We've had very good meetings, very good cooperation, and AGA is very keen, as the government of Colombia is and the local government of Antioquia, to see Gramalote built as quickly as possible, and of course built the way we build them, very responsibly as well. So we're on the same page. But if for some reason, when we presented a development plan, if AGA decided they didn't want to participate, then there is a mechanism in the agreement whereby we could buy out their interest based on the value and the feasibility study. So I don't see that happening. I know AGA has other projects in Colombia that they're committed to. So this is a very important project for both companies to build the biggest open pit gold mine in Colombia and do it well. So I think we're going to be very closely aligned together. We are now, and I think that'll continue into the future. But if they wanted to sell their interest, we would definitely be interested in buying it.
Okay, thank you. You have built B2Gold via some very timely acquisitions. You mentioned a couple a moment ago, projects which you then went on to build. A lot of gold juniors were able to finance last year, and so there's been a lot of drilling done, a lot of drilling results, a lot of new resources and initial economic studies come out in recent months. Is it sort of now coming towards a time where B2Gold needs to put some new other development projects in its pipeline, or is your internal exploration generating enough of those for you?
Well, as I said, you've got in the forefront, you've got Gramalote and Kiaka, and you've got Anaconda area. So we'll know a lot more about those three projects in the next 6 months, literally 6 to 12 months, 12 months in the case of Anaconda, or we're in that time frame. So, the way we look at it, I've been prepared to be quite contrarian in our career, which is acquiring things when perhaps others weren't, such as Fekola, which is now very much recognized as a world-class deposit that we bought very accretively and then added tremendous value with the drill bit and went on to build it. But I think it's going to be a little tougher when I look at M&A today. We're always looking at opportunities, but I think our job is to realize value for our shareholders from what's in our pipeline. So let's go and do all this exploration drilling. let's go and get the feasibility study out and hopefully start moving forward and developing Gramalote. And let's see what Kiaka shows us when the updated feasibility study comes out in the middle of the year. It's more competitive for acquisitions now because gold price is higher. There's not a lot of great development projects that we see out there that we think are anywhere near valued in a level we would want to require. Our discipline through BIMA and B2Gold for 40 years has been that we'll never acquire anything that needs a higher gold price and or exploration success to justify their purchase price. So that means in a time like now, with a lot of our competitors didn't do what we did over the last 5 or 8 years, which was to continue, even though it was contrarian, to acquire projects and build them. So I feel we did the heavy lifting when it wasn't perhaps very popular, and it paid off wonderfully for our shareholders, as we saw particularly in our share price last year. So we'll look at the M&A market, but if we do something, I think our shareholders will like it because it'll be something that makes sense and adds value. In the meantime, though, let's go and continue to work on the pipeline, continue to pay this great dividend, and continue to be very responsible the way we build mines and run mines around the world.
Okay, so it seems the message there is, B2Gold has been setting the pace and continues to set the pace while some of your competitors are perhaps having to chase the game. Leading gold producers, including B2Gold, have taken steps over the last year or two to become more appealing to generalist investors by announcing dividends, producing multi-year production guidance, becoming more of an investable business or business sector. To what extent is that working, or are generalist investors still ambivalent towards gold miners?
Well, I think for a long time, the generalist investors were, I don't know how to put this politically correctly, they weren't very impressed with the gold mining industry as an industry that returned things like dividends and was very profitable. The story was, well, gold's going to go up one day, so these gold stocks will go up one day. But I never believed that. I've never been a gold bug. I've never been convinced that gold has to go higher. So, in our case, we just continue to do things and continue to grow, doing accretive deals wherever we are in the cycle. So I think that there's going to be some more investment. I'm particularly excited about what we can do in exploration, and other companies can do in exploration. Exploration spent to generate more development projects where the good gold producers can, like ourselves and others, there are others now, I like where the industry is going overall, that can come and acquire these on a friendly basis and then build the mines, as we've done with several of the deals that we've done. So we'll continue to look at the landscape, but I think that I really enjoy talking to generalist funds right now because we can say to them, you don't need to buy B2Gold for your gold exposure, 100% over 10 years in shareholder value. And the gold price wasn't always going up during that 10 years. So my argument to the generalists is we pay a good dividend. We're very good at what we do, which is to grow the company and produce gold cheaply and find it. So we're going to continue to do that. So I think we're ideally positioned, and a few others are as well, but we're ideally positioned for the generalist funds to start looking at B2Gold as a real company that actually makes money and pays the dividend. So I'm glad to see the gold industry getting better. We need fewer, better run gold mining companies. So I hope there's more M&A on the way, but it's good to see the industry has responded over the last 5 years or so to what was a pretty bad reputation overall before. Not us, but many others.
Okay, another aspect where the mining sector in general is responding, and where B2 again is being a leader, is in terms of ESG. And you mentioned some of this a moment ago at the start of the conversation. Investors are increasingly taking ESG aspects into account in their investment decisions. And as ESG awareness deepens, coupled with an increasing focus on decarbonisation, how does B2Gold's operations stack up on the carbon curve against its peers? And what initiatives and investments is the company making to reduce its carbon footprint? You've mentioned the solar initiatives. What else are you doing? How are you looking to improve on the carbon curve?
Right. Well, as part of our responsible mining report, which we put out every year, we'll be actually doing an inventory this year, our GHG inventory. And that's a big part of that. So we'll continue to, and this is very important as it relates to climate change and the priorities in the industry, which we're very much a part of. And as I mentioned, the solar plants in Namibia and now in Mali as well, and potentially in Burkina Faso if we go ahead there as well. So I think we're kind of on the cutting edge of that. But we were doing ESG and CSR for decades before they had fancy titles. And that's part of our whole commitment of fairness, respect, and transparency, which is to try and develop sustainable jobs in the communities we work in so that when the mines eventually are finished, there will be sustainable jobs that we will leave at a better place. And that's really been a part of our culture for 30 odd years. Recently we were very pleased last year to get some major awards. We had won the PDAC award for the Sustainability Award, which is a pretty prestigious honor from the PDA. And we also got the Most Sustainable Mine Award from the Mining Journal for 2020, and also Best Social Enterprise Award for the Fekola mine for relocating a village in Fekola and the other actions that we did there as well. So, and plus another one in Colombia as well. So we're starting to get the recognition, which I think is wonderful for all of our people that sometimes behind the scenes work so hard at doing this and doing it responsibly. So we'll continue to be on the cutting edge of this, and we're, you know, if there is a green miner, I think we're it.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on that. Finally, how do you expect 2021 to play out for B2Gold, and what would you like to achieve this year?
Well, I think we're going to be right around that 1,000,000 ounce a year level again. We could have we'll have some positive additions to that are not in our current guidance, potentially from this new Cardinal Zone and Anaconda, which are near Fekola, that may contribute ore sooner than later to what we've already put out there as our guidance. But the big things I think are going to be, as I mentioned earlier, all this exploration we're doing, a lot of it brownfields around our existing mines where we've had great success, but some very exciting greenfield projects. I mentioned Uzbekistan and Finland and other places where we're looking that we haven't announced yet. So we'll continue to be driven by geology, not geography, which has been our mantra for 30 odd years. But in addition to that, we have, to wrap up, we have the feasibility study at Gramalote coming out in April, the results, and then in June, we expect to have results of the Kiaka feasibility study. So we have a lot on our plate. We're well positioned to do it all. And our construction team is raring to go to hit Colombia in full stride and build another very good mine there if the results of the feasibility study are what we currently expect to be quite robust economics.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to writing a lot more about B2Gold going forward. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. And so I'd like to thank Clive Johnson once again for joining us. And goodbye from me, Paul Harris. And stay tuned for more Mining Journal interviews.
Thanks, Paul. Pleasure to talk to you.